session. So I'm a cloud trainer. So I've been taking multiple trainings on AWS, Google Cloud, as well as on Azure. I'm certified in AWS, Google, Azure, VMware, and Red Hat. Taking trainings for past 5 years on classroom and online sessions on AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. So I have total of 18 years experience of IT infrastructure, and I'll try my best to help you out of how to understand about AWS Cloud Formation topic for today. So anytime if you have any questions, request you to ask question in the chat window. I'll try to come back to you as soon as possible. And also at every topic, subtopic, I'll pause it. And also at the end of the session, we have a Q&A in which you can ask all the questions. I'll revert back for your queries. So before I can start off, are you able to hear me clearly? Am I audible? Are you seeing a screen so that I can start off?
Yes, you are audible, and yes, thank you.
So today's introduction topic is on introduction to AWS Cloud Formation. So repeat once more, guidance webinar, you are muted centrally, and we'll record the webinar. We'll also share the recording after tomorrow. At the end, we have a question and answer session in which you can ask me any question. I'll revert to you. So this session is for solution architect, infrastructure engineers, DevOps engineers, IT project managers who are working on cloud, on AWS Cloud specifically, and also who want to move on to AWS Cloud. You want to understand some of how AWS Cloud works and some concepts. So this is about one of the topic which is called AWS Cloud Formation, which is quite hot in the market. But before I start off, I just want to use about basics of AWS. It's because you're all new to AWS. Let me just talk in brief for 2 minutes about AWS and then start off on AWS Cloud Formation so that you understand in brief about what I'm going to talk about. So AWS Cloud Provider is being market almost for So they started in 2003 by Chris Buckingham, and then they initially Amazon.com website. From 2006, they started using the Amazon Web Services, which was released. So the top cloud is Amazon Web Services, followed by Azure Google Cloud. So this is your launch page of Amazon. So using which you can access any services, as well as you can also create a free account as well as paid account, and you can access your services either through the management console, which is your GUI. You can also access your services from a command prompt. So for example, you also want a command prompt. You can log into command prompt and access various AWS services. For programmers, you can access the services using SDKs. You can use also tools like IntelliJ or Eclipse for accessing the AWS services. So in here, you would find the products of AWS. So these are various products. You have services across compute, storage, networking, developer, management tools, migration tools. Whatever services you want, you have in AWS. And in this page, you also understand about, let me just talk about in brief about their presence across the world. So AWS has their presence across the world. They have 18 regions and multiple zones. So this is a presence. They have presence predominantly in US, followed by India. You also have their data centers in India, which is in Mumbai. And every region would have a minimum of 2 zones. So in zone interior on logical, you can talk about a logical partition in which every region would have 2 zones for a DR purpose. So this is in brief. So as a customer, you can privilege to have any region. You can have resources deployed. So there's no restriction that even in India, you have to deploy resources in only a specific region in which you are in. So you have presence across the world. This is in brief about the regions and the zones. So numbers, what you see here, these are the zones. These are various regions. Now, for example, you get in access to your cloud. How to log on? I'll just show you and then we'll start the topic. So this is once you get an access, you get a login password. You can access any services like compute, S3, CloudWatch, whatever you want. So for new people, you want to just understand some basics. Let me try to spin up a virtual server. So virtual server is a server which is not physically existing. So for example, you worked on VMware platform, you worked on virtual machines. Similarly, on AWS Cloud, you could deploy EC2 instances. So so how to create any service? Always choose a region in which you want to create. For example, you have to create some servers in North Virginia, which is in US. You access, you log on, choose a specific region in which you want to provision the service. And for example, to launch an instance, click on Launch Instance. And these are the various images. These are various images or the templates using which you can deploy it. So for example, I want to spin up a Windows instance. I do not have Windows 2016. I want to work on it. I do not want to buy it. So what I can do is I can log on to cloud and I can start using it and start deploying it. This is the size I want, of which has 1 vCPU memory and so much of storage. I configure. So I want to choose in a network. So every account will get a default virtual private cloud. So I'm choosing default network. And I can choose any zone. I want, for example, US 1C. I want to auto assign public IP. So it's enabled for your default. And you want to spin up with a root volume or a C volume in here for Windows. Choose the basics, the volume type, which you want to choose. And you want a name for this, might be for your about what is instance for or for billing purpose you want to have it done. So here, for example, I want to for test purpose. So I'm doing it here. Next is you also want to restrict traffic to virtual service. So how do you do it? In brief, is that is you have to create a firewall. Like firewalls, what we have enterprise, it also have firewalls wherein you can allow a specific ports to be allowed to be accessed onto instances. So for example, how to create a new security group. Now I'm choosing for Windows. So I choose Windows SG. Description, it's up to you how do you want to do it. You can give anything. And I want to access the service, the server using my remote RDP. So I allowed RDP as of now. And for testing, I'm choosing anywhere. Otherwise, in the real scenario, you want to choose a specific IP range using which you want to allow either to choose a custom, say a specific IP range, a subnet range, or a specific IP from which you want to allow. You can choose this. You also have any application running on the instance, or do you want to do it more? You can also add in more protocol. For example, if you think that any flow of HTTP or HTTPS is going to work on this, you want to add these specific ports and allow it so that you can access the instance. So as of now, for testing purpose, we want to let's log on to the mission. So I created a new security group. And now I want to review and launch. So it would say that it's open to world, which is not uh, good, but for testing purpose, we are allowing it. But in the real scenario, you want to allow a specific ports and some specific custom ID, IPs, or subnets. So I want to launch it. Ensure that whatever virtual servers you are using, it's quite safe. Nobody hacks your environment. So you can also create key pairs. So key pairs you created for every region first time. So how to create a key pair? Create a new key pair. Choose a name. So a key pair is unique to a specific region in which you are launching instances. So how I do it is so you can put in as your name and North Virginia so that you know that this key is specific to North Virginia, and you download the key pair. So you want to save it the way we want. So now I'm setting a desktop. And close it and click on launch instance. You already have the screen, so I go back. So I'll just choose. That's fine. You already have a group. So this is how you launch a EC2 mission. It just takes a few minutes to launch a virtual server. Unlike enterprise server, wherein you have to order a server, rack it, get an add in the storage disk, all these things. It just takes a few minutes. So this is the beauty of using cloud. You could spin up any virtual server as soon as possible. You don't worry about the scaling. Whenever you want, you can go ahead and start creating a virtual server as required. So now what you see is there's something instance which is going to run it, wherein you are getting charged for the number of seconds you're getting charged. For example, you run it for 90 seconds, you're getting charged only for 90 seconds, the minimum of 1 minute. In case if you have workloads running all the time, you can also choose reserved instances. In the reserved instances, you can go ahead and buy in some instances for 1 or 3 year term, so that the hourly charges is quite reduced. So like this, you have multiple options in EC2, but in this is brief how you launch an EC2. That's what I'm going to try to share. Let me just show you how to launch an EC2 instance or how to log on. Just loading in now. And you can see the details of the EC2. It has the instance ID created. It is running. This is the instance type. This is your zone in which it got created. And you have rules created. This is your private IP, which is specific for this. You also have public IP. This is dynamic. So dynamic is, for example, when you stop it and start it, the IP is going to change. So in these cases, you can also create an elastic IP as an elastic IP. Under this, you can choose elastic IP and assign it if required. This is how you do it. And every service gets monitored in default by CloudWatch. With every 5-minute interval, it gets monitored. In case if you want to monitor for 1 minute, you can also have enable detailed monitoring. And you can see the details for almost the last 2 weeks. The logs will be available. For any notification, for example, if your lots of role is running on this production server, you want some notifications that resources are going quite high. You can also create an alarm and have notified on your mobile or your email the message. That is one option. Also, you can allow it to take automatic action, which is called auto scaling. So this is in brief about launching EC2. Just give me a minute. Let me try to help you, show you how to log on and open the instance. So this is a screen. So now I want a password. So what I do is first time get a password. So it's still loading. So it's taking some time. Give me a minute. Yeah, let's wait. So like this, you can create any service like EC2, any services like S3, water services, you can do manually. But as you see here, there are lots of steps to doing this manually. Hence, to avoid these steps to do manually, you can use a service called as AWS Cloud Formation. So you can write in a JSON code and have it deployed for the purpose of this class. So it's created, I connect, I still just 1 minute. Okay, let's wait. It's taking some time. So instead of doing this like manually, you can use a service called as AWS Cloud Formation. And just taking some more time for password. Okay, we'll try again some time. So any questions on this is how you launch EC2. This is quite common. You use it on everyday basis. Like this, you can launch an S3. For example, you want to upload any objects, any files into your storage. You can create a folder that's called create a bucket and start uploading it. And other one which I just want to talk about here is on VPC. So VPC is a service in which you can launch in your EC2 instances. This is how your VPC screen would look. You can start a VPC wizard, choose, for example, I'm trying to create a VPC. You can, for example, you want to create a virtual private cloud with both public and private subnet. Choose this template, select it, change which you want to for your network. Choose a name, for example, here, and the subnet, which is a part of your VPC. You can choose it by choosing specific range, for example, here, a specific subnet region name, any location you want to give, and you can modify whenever you want. You can create subnet like this. This is how you can create a VPC with subnets, private or public subnet. You can also have a NAT created like this. So, for example, I choose a NAT instance and an endpoint VPC. So this is how you create a VPC. So as you see here, even creating a network is so fast. So you can also create a network, storage, EC2, whatever you want, so fast using AWS services. So just let me check if it is launched. Just give me a minute. Okay, it's taking more time, but you get the password and you can log on using RDP. This is how you can access your services. Hey, question by Shankaran, how are you getting charged for services you are using? So for every service, you need to understand how the pricing model works. So how you check it is go on to aws.amazon.com and access the specific service. For example, for EC2, if you want to see the details, go to products and go to EC2. And this is where you could check it before how much you're getting going to charge. But as I'm talking about for a free trial, you get it for almost 1 year with some limitations like 750 hours for EC2. Otherwise, this is where you come and check in the details. For example, on demand, which are doing it. It is based on the location where you are using it. For example, if you're using a T2 Nano in a specific location, for example, I choose North Virginia. So I choose North Virginia and I here which one I'm using. And accordingly, I'll know that I'm getting charged so much. This is how you can check the pricing. For every service, you have some details about the pricing under the product page. Yes, so it is per second. For EC2 instances, you are getting charged per second. It all depends on the services. For example, for S3, you get a default 5 GB of free for your account, after which you're charged based on how much of data you save and how much of data transfers to the region. Yes, any more questions on the basics? So how do you check security part on using this service from
Am I audible
AWS?
to you?
Yes, is it Deepanjan?
This is Prabhakaran. Prab Nair
Yes,
from
Prabhakaran.
yeah. So I think Chaitanya, you recording that session from that end, right? There's an option called recording. Is it coming there in the GoToMeeting?
I don't think, I thought you didn't inform me. Okay,
No,
I've
no,
done
no.
it.
Okay, because I made you organizer also. So the thing is that when you're talking
Yes.
about this Amazon EC2 pricing, so what is the base amount price that we used to pay for our services? Like, what is the baseline amount that we need to pay?
See, for using on demand, you need not pay any base amount, not
Okay,
required at all.
okay. And
But if
how?
you go in,
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
so there are three models for EC2. One is your on demand, wherein you can just spin up, you start paying on per second. Other one is reserved instance. For
Okay.
reserved instances, you can enter an agreement with
Mm-hmm.
AWS stating, I
Mm-hmm.
want to spin up around 10 instances for the next 1 to 3 years,
Okay.
and you get the charges. These are the charges what you see it here.
Okay.
So based on 1 year, once you pay it, the charges are less.
Okay.
Term is still less per year.
Okay.
So you can also enter reserved
And
instances.
how it is efficient from the perspective, because we have a lot of cloud services available nowadays. We have a ovh.com. We have
Mm,
Microsoft also. So how
okay.
this will be more effective? Like, we should go for the Amazon instead of going for OVH or any other cloud services.
Okay. Yeah. So how would I answer is, see, more number of customers using it, obviously you get the charges lesser, right? So if the number of users are more across the world, so they are going to give you charges very less. That is one. The next one is they are established vendors almost for past almost 12 years. They are the leading vendors, and obviously it is cheaper. Not only that, for example, I'll talk about when you're trying to move your commercial databases, for example, SQL, Oracle, you also get in cheaper licenses costs. I've seen license costs is cheaper if you're hosting Amazon, as well as they help you to migrate to a server which is open source. For example, you can migrate to Aurora DB, which is on Amazon. So moving to which you can save in cost. So they offer lots of solution using which you are saving cost, and as well as they are leading vendor. They are also have very good support. For example, when you have any issue, when you call them, you have immediate question, answer, replies. So they have very good customer support. You have customer documentation. Everything is there. So obviously, you need not worry about AWS. The cost base is cheaper compared to Azure and other things because I've worked on practically on AWS, and it supports cloud services. From security point of view, they are certified in any compliance. For example, when you go on to AWS, this is what the people look into because the customers are worried about the data, what happens. So they are certified on whichever platform you want, right? Starting from PCI DSS, SOC 1, they are certified in whatever certifications as required for customers' information. They are certified. And they also are regularly audited. The data center regularly audited, and the reports also is shared to customer on a high level stating that report has been audited. So this gives the benefit to customers stating that their information is quite secure.
Okay.
You can also inform them to do a VAPT test. That's a vulnerability assessment test, but you need to get permission before. So you have lots of options to help you of audit, and you can show these reports to customers saying that your information is quite secure.
Okay.
Yeah, this answer.
Thank you. Is
Welcome.
anyone having any questions till now? So you can ask Chaitanya, Akash Gupta, Sachin.
Hi, this is Tom here. I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way you choose AWS over any other cloud provider. Like even I think Google has the same advantage, right? Whatever you have told.
Yeah, sure. So what happens is you are not sure any application. For example, you are trying to migrate an application to AWS or any cloud. You still are a newbie. So what is the normal procedure is you have to have meetings with at least 2 or 3 vendors. It's because you're not sure. So you have to first call in at least 2 or 3 vendors. For example, Google Cloud, AWS Cloud, and Azure. I've worked on this wherein we call in the meetings. We explain to them about our existing architecture, and we tell them that we want to move to cloud. And they would check it internally based on the services. They will also check it. You also have to do a POC. So normally you have to decide before you do a POC which clouds you want to do it, and then go ahead. So you cannot say which cloud is very good for you unless until you do a POC, and also have business talks on the cost things, then you decide it. This is how you can decide which cloud. But AWS on general, it allows any type of services, but you still want to take a call by doing a POC and vendor talks before you take a call.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Nitin.
Yeah. So now our this password is active now. What I do is now I want to access my keeper. Lots of files.
So Chaitanya, is it possible for you to explain the entire process in 5 minutes, whatever you did? Because there are some people who joined later. So as
Sure,
this
sure,
is a
sure.
practical,
Okay.
so what
Sure,
exactly
sure.
you
Just
did
for easy
in
to.
past 30 minutes, in just 5 minutes, what exactly you have achieved, so
Sure,
that
I can do.
people get the idea? Because I just received one message on chat box. Thank you.
Sure. Just give me. Let me copy the password. Hi team, welcome to the session. So my name is Chaitanya. I've been a cloud and DevOps trainer for past 5 years. I have 18 years of IT infrastructure experience. And today's topic is on AWS Cloud Formation introduction. So before I start off, I want to give an introduction about AWS. So you first need to understand, or AWS, we all know that it is the leading cloud provider compared to Microsoft or Google. These leading, and they have services across any platform. For example, you want to deploy any compute service, you have services like EC2 virtual servers. You also have Beanstalk, which is a platform as a stock. You have serverless applications like Lambda. You have services for storage. For example, you want to store in any file or a table storage. You want to have object storage. You have services for the same. Also, you want to save cost by moving on to Glacier, which is of similar to Tapewise. You have services for database, management tools, whatever you want, you have services across AWS. So this is about, in brief, about the various, how to access the services. Now, initially you want to understand about what is their presence, where do they have their data centers. So they have the data centers across the world. So they have more data centers in US. So these are various data centers. They have approximately 19 regions, 18 geographic regions, one is local region across the world. So these are the regions. So every region would have a minimum of 2 zones. Why we need to have a zone? It's because something happens to one of the zones or inside it, you want to have a minimum of 2 zones. Again, zones are a collection of data centers. Simple example, for example, we have in Mumbai a region. So North Mumbai is, you will have in one zone. You might be having one zone in South Mumbai. So North Mumbai again might be having collection of data centers. Might be the data center is just one data center, one building, or it might be a collection of data centers. So this is how AWS works to ensure that customers' information is quite safe, not lost because of any physical earthquakes or volcanoes. So these are various regions, and these have, for example, 6, these are 3. So you want to do this. So how do you deploy the services? For example, if you are working for a company and you have a customer in US, you obviously want to deploy services for customers who are in US. Hence, when you log in, you want to choose the north, the closest location in which the customer is there, and start deploying. You need to remember also that all services, for example, you saw so many services. All the services is not mandatory that it must be available in all the regions. They do not have, for example, elastic container services, which has come recently. You do not have some regions. So as an architect, you first know where the customer is, what type of service they want, and also the cost of service each and every region varies. So you need to decide. Also, you need to decide what is the network range in which they want their resources, how many virtual servers they want. All these things must be done. So let me just show you. You can also have a free account created. How to create a free account? So free account you can create by accessing aws.amazon.com/free. So in this web page, when you go in, you create a free account. With a free account, which is valid for 1 year, you can use or work on EC2s, that is a virtual service, 750 hours per month, either a Windows or Linux. Then you can get S3 storage, object storage of S3 of 5 GB. Database, RDS is a managed service. You can still go ahead and install your database on virtual server, but you also have managed service like RDS, which is for relation database service. For example, you want to deploy any schema base like Oracle or MySQL, these type of database you want to install, you can take use of RDS, wherein you just deploy the database instance, the patching, failover, HA, all these things internally managed by AWS. You also have services like AWS Lambda. So these are things you want to have a look before after you create an account, and you can start learning the same. Once you create an account, you can log on. This is how you log on, console. It'll ask your password and you can log on. Now, for example, I want to create a virtual server in North Virginia. So I choose the default in North Virginia. So choose North Virginia and choose the EC2, the service, the virtual server. So why you want a virtual server? For example, I want to install an application on a virtual server, for which first you want to create a virtual server on AWS. You want Windows or Red Hat. Now, let me also show you how it showed for Windows. Now, in case, I think I missed it, let me again show. Now, this is the dashboard. You're North Virginia. You want a virtual server with a guest operating system. So Amazon supports lots of operating system like Amazon Linux, which is proprietary of Amazon. You have Red Hat, SUSE. So please ensure that you choose only free trial eligible. If not, you'll be charged. Also, please read through it. Images. For example, this image, this comes, for example, this one comes with your operating system as well as some tools installed in it. So you want to check in the details of the images and start deploying the services. Now, I think people have missed it. Let me again show you for Windows, which you missed it. For 64-bit, I want a mission. So I select Windows and I choose the size. So I'll come back to you in a minute. Please give me a minute. So I decide the size based on the application. For example, I'm using application which requires only CPU of 1 or memory of 1. Based on the hardware and software requirements of the application, you need to decide the size of the instance. So I choose D2 Micro, that's for testing purpose, which is also free trial. This gives you these resources. Now, where do you want to launch? I need to launch in one of the networks. How many instances I need? For example, I need one instance. So every account get a default network. Also, you can create a network, a VPC, based on a customer. It's called non-default VPC. In which zone you want to deploy? For example, in North Virginia, there are 6 zones. I want it in a specific zone. I choose specific zone. If you don't choose also, AWS will create in an optimized zone in which you have sufficient bandwidth or other resources which is required for it to work properly. For a default, you have a public IP default assigned. It means you'll get a default dynamic public IP. And in case if you want to still launch using any roles, you can have option to do that. If you think that you are new to AWS and you might accidentally delete it, you also have accidental termination. The checking is you do not directly delete it, you need to modify to delete your instances. So either you can choose a dedicated instance or a dedicated host itself. So dedicated instance and dedicated hosts are normally used for compliance reasons, wherein a customer or business, like a financial or medical-based companies, they would have some compliance reasons stating that they want to run their services on a separate physical host or data centers. So in those cases, you can either choose dedicated instance or dedicated host. Otherwise, you can just choose run a shared hardware instance. And this is how you would choose that. If you want to pass on any scripts while launching in, you can also add in scripts here and try to launch it. Or here, I'm just going here. Now, this is where the volumes. So I want to see drive default is going to get created. The size is 30 GB. What is the type of hard disk I want to use? For any volumes, like a boot volume, you want to use SSD. It's because it needs to boot up properly, faster. You do not want to use a magnetic. Magnetic is normally used for a glacier purpose, or for dev and test and mod, you can use it, but not for your C drive or for your root volumes. If you want to add root volume, you can still go ahead and add in a volume in here. and have it created. Now you want a name for this. So the name or the tag is quite widely used for any services. Why do you want to use? For example, you have multiple teams and you want to know which team is utilizing which specific instance, how much they're getting billed. You can get the details from the tagging. So here, I think it's to. Now I want to restrict traffic to this. So only show either create a group or select existing group. Let me show you the ports which I have allowed. So I want to access right now using my RDP. So I'll allow 3389 and allow the traffic to everyone. The real case, you want to modify and allow the specific traffic. Click on review and launch and click on launch. Now ensuring that the information is quite secure and do not allow for hacking, you can also create a key pair which you can save it. So you can create a key pair and save it. I already created a key pair just 2 minutes back. So I choose a existing key pair and choose the one using which I want to launch in. This is what I choose. Acknowledge and launch the instance. Yeah, so this is how we launch it. Now let me just try to log on. The other one, since we don't want to waste time, I've already launched the other one which is running in. How to access it? So click on connect. Get the password, and you have to put in the key and get the password. So browse, I repeat, show once more. Desktop, whatever key you created for launching in. Choose that. Ensures that the begin RSA and end RSA it is there, so that it doesn't say you that it's not copied properly. Decrypt the password. Now please note down this password, the notepad. You can also change the password by after log on to the mission. Now you close it. Yeah. So how to connect? Either you can use MSTSC or you can do it, or if you're new to connecting RDP, you can also directly click on download remote desktop file. It is going to allow you directly access it. It is going to access it using admin account. So username is administrator. Just give me a minute. It's going to launch in a minute. Click connect. A password. Copy the password. And click on OK. So this is how. So don't ask me again. Here. So this is how you launch a virtual server. For Windows, you can see the GUI. For Linux, you cannot see a GUI. You need to log on using PuTTY tools. Or if you're using a Mac or a Linux, you can use SSH client for logging on the same. You cannot access GUI directly. In case you want to use GUI, you might want to use VNC Viewer for Linux. Yes? Yeah, I think I'll take questions now. Hi, Shankaran. So question is, by Shankaran, is how do you ensure data is not getting replicated across data centers hosted in different regions? Okay, how do you ensure data is not getting replicated? I mean, unless until you have it replicated, it'll not be done. That's what my answer. Unless until, for example, you create some rules for replication, it's going to happen. But still, if you want to ensure, you can still try to create access controls list or between the regions, I don't think it's going to happen. So we can all put in a public question so that others can see it. Can you all put in under all audience, or if you can option everyone so that all can see it?
Actually, because of settings, it will not be possible. Really sorry for that.
Okay, no issues, no issues. Yeah. Any other questions, team? So this is how you launch an EC2 instance, and you see that this is what we spinned up now. This is the size, and you can start using internet also. For example, just try to access the internet the first time because it's a public VPC. So keep on adding here. The first time you know that how it works in IE for mission.
Stalin here. Quick question. See, I know there is a set of security. There's a chapter for which says what are the AWS security and everything, which is very large. But how will is there a way to find out what kind of security is applied for AWS? Because this is always a question, right? Anybody who comes in client, they'll be like, okay, what type of security is there?
So you want to understand AWS data center is secure talking about? You mean the,
yes.
Okay. So for
Not
which? Okay. Is it physical? Yes or no?
No, not physical.
Okay. Yeah. Let me help you for that also. So in case you want to explain to someone, so yes, I use multiple windows. Sorry for that. So there are two terms using which you can ensure security, which you just saw now is security groups, which is for instance, let me just show you a diagram and explain to you about how security works in AWS. Just give it. Yeah. Okay. So this is one diagram. So I'm just opening it here. So this is one diagram which you can refer for any security, because we talked about Amazon VPC. Inside your Amazon network, you could have access control list, which is a firewall in the subnet level at your instance level security group. So if you want to see what type of traffic is coming into what it does, it cap something at trace route, you want to capture the information and check in any security bugs in it, you can also enable flow logs in VPC. Let me show the diagram. This is a diagram. So any traffic which is coming from outside, you can filter the traffic before it comes to a subnet using NACLs. So you can allow as well as deny traffic in NACLs. So you have an option to, first of all, segregate the traffic before it hits the subnet. And once this is done, to still ensure that there is no compromise, you still have inside a security group wherein even within instances, you can have security in between the instances. So this is the depth of layer which is available for your security, for your what you manage. Then apart from which, whatever patches you are applying for your EC2 instances, those things you also need to ensure that it properly follows the change management process. And also you have services like AWS config, using which you want to ensure that is properly patched. So this is what I was talking. This is how it works. So did I answer your question?
Chaitanya, I'm not just talking about user groups or roles or policies. Like network security types, like okay, we have like a lot of things going, in our physical network. We have securities, right? That kind of securities I was talking about.
Yeah, so you have, so let me show you
So you are talking like IDS and IPS, right?
Yes.
Yes, which we literally don't have in view from outside, right?
So in this scenario, in AWS, you can have a host-based IDS only. The practical IDS and IPS, there's a AWS marketplace where you can go and purchase the security products according to your requirement. And you can install host-based IDS on the system. The physical IDS and IPS is very difficult to implement in this. And like you have a Palo Alto firewall, right? Similarly, you can create a virtual machine in AWS and install a Palo Alto firewall on it, and then route the traffic accordingly. And AWS Marketplace, if you type in the Google, you'll get lots of security products.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, let me show you that what I was talking about. So how to launch it? If not, normally you'll find it here. The best way to launch it is go to instances, and you can also, it is marketplace. So I think this is what you're talking about. You can integrate with the third party, any of the tools for doing internally. Yes. So any questions on launching EC2 instances? So can I proceed to the main topic? I think almost done. I'm not sure how to cope up, but this is required. Okay. So now let me go on. So now you saw that EC2 instance, we did so many steps, but you do not want to do these steps manually. It's because might be you are making a manual effort, mistake. Also, you also need to understand that it's taking more time. So these days, any application must be deployed faster. We have DevOps concepts wherein anything must be deployed faster. And the same type of environment, you also want to provision, for example, in a test environment, you create a stack, like a LAMP stack, like Linux, MySQL. You want similar environment or a stack in your production. What do you do? Again, it's very difficult for you to go manual and do it. So this is where a concept called as infrastructure as a code has come in, wherein you can write in a script. I'll just show you and then I'll explain to you. You can write in scripts in your JSON format or YAML format. This. You can write in a script like this, mentioning all the services. For example, parameters can include EC2, S3, all the type you can put it, conditions, mapping, whatever you want, how you want environment to set up, everything using a JSON or YAML. You have some templates. Not only that, you have to do like this. You can also use a design I'm going to show to you. You can just drag in the components and to modify the parameters and then start using it, deploying it. So you can just have a template, deploy the template, and your environment is up and running very soon. The main reason why you want to use this, for example, your site goes down, but you have saved the template on a snapshot. You can immediately deploy your environment in the DR site immediately. So there are multiple advantages for that purpose. And also you want to provision environment very fast. You want to use CloudFormation. So this is what is CloudFormation. You do not want to do manually. You want to do everything using your code. And this is where you want to use CloudFormation. Now, you'll understand in this module about what is CloudFormation, how to work with the various templates of CloudFormation, which provided by AWS, how to create a application using both manually as well as using the CloudFormation designer. Yeah, any questions? I see.
This is Akash. Just one small question. So when you change the reason, you have to create a new VPC in that case? So for example, I created a CloudFormation, I have my everything ready, but I realized that London region is down. I have to go to a North Virginia region. That in that case, I have to create a VPC and subnets also from scratch, correct?
Yes, yes. So that you, as I talked about, you need to create a VPC and some everything is because you cannot modify it. It's because any subnet is part of only one zone. It cannot be. So you need to create starting from a VPC, decide the proper range, give some space for IPs also. For example, if you think that we are going to deploy 164 virtual servers, but tomorrow it's going to increase, find to the different range for subnet. Yeah, but so you have to redeploy it. That's the only solution. That's a better solution.
And also you can go for the configure the cross zone load balancing by having already a zone server. Okay, by already having a server.
I know that. The only question which I have is that using CloudFormation, can we automate the VPC creation also? Is that possible? VPC creation, subnet creation, all those things.
In that case, we need to have an external integration, which is today we called it as a automation of deployment. That need to be integrated. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chaitanya.
Yeah, you can also choose. Yes, you can also not the VPC. It is more of EC2 you can create. VPCs are quite difficult to create CloudFormation. So it's more from your services. You can also do a VPC also. You can also do a VPC, but you can also do a VPC, but you can also do that.
Thank you, Chaitanya. Thank you so much.
Let me show you the example. Yeah, you can also do that. So whatever service you want, you can do that, and you can modify it as required. So this is a simple example. Yes. So you can do in CIDR block, this is the range of IP address you want, choose whatever you want, and they can do it. Even VPC could be created. Whatever service you want, you can create it. Yeah. So now let me go back. So AWS Cloud Formation provides a common language for you to provision. It's quite easy. So it is JSON or YAML, you can use it. You can put in all the services, what you want in a single file, save as a template, and start deploying your services. So there is no additional charge for using the service. You are charged only for the service. For example, if you run an EC2 instance of any specific size, instance size, only for the charging. For example, using any volumes, whatever, using it only for those services you're getting charged. That is called as AWS Cloud Formation. So benefits, why you want to do everything manually, separate components, you can put everything into one file and start deploying all in one. You can also make it automate, deploy, as I talked about, deploy using, you can also integrate with, if required, like Chef or Puppet, also you can integrate using with them also to deploy your infrastructure. So as I talked about, it was infrastructure code, either on a YAML format or JSON format. It's quite easy to learn. For example, the older ones like XML or other languages, which is not so easy. But the latest languages like YAML or JSON, quite easy, free to understand as well as modify the details and start deploying the same. So how does it work? So you create a JSON or YAML, and you put in the file what resources you want to create and configure the details. Then you start configuring it. You can either start configuring using manually, I'm going to show you, or using a GUI interface wherein you choose the component. For example, you want a component with VPC, EC2 and all, you can drag and drop it and do it. You can create a stack in a single unit and you can delete it. Also, when a stack is getting created, you want to roll back if something is not good, it's not going to work. You can also roll back. You want to control access to who can modify the stack or delete it. You have called termination protection. And before even you stack, you want to see how it is going to work. You have something called change set using which you can see how it's going to work. So these are the things which you get as part of AWS Cloud Formation. How does it work? As I talked about, first thing is code your infrastructure from scratch in either format. You can either have the file on your locally. The recommended method is always put it in S3 bucket and call in the URL, get in it, start deploying it. You can either use your browser or command line tools. You have APIs, all the three you can use it, and it provisions and configures the stack. So let me show you the demo. I think almost done. So to be quite fast, let me show you how it's going to work. So I go to services. You would find under Cloud Formation the management tools. So click on Cloud Formation. So this is the launching page. Okay. Now I create a stack. Now you have some templates already available. So these are the various templates which are already available. For example, I want to create a WordPress, a LAMP stack. So LAMP stack is quite widely used in infrastructure or environments which has a Linux, Apache, MySQL, or a script. So LAMP stack is quite widely used. So I want to deploy this stack. I choose the stack, And this is going to have a default thing. This is where the JSON files is saved in your S3. Now I click on next. Now I want a name for this. So for example, lamp stack, so lamp test. How much of database you want to allot for your database, which is going to MySQL. You have option to modify the size. So for test purpose, I'm choosing a smaller one. And my database, in actual scenario, you want to decide based on the purpose for which you're going to use it. So DB name is my database. Password, give a password. And again, a DB user. Choose the instance. So you also need to have a Linux installed. So you decide on the database. Now a web server. Choose the size of it. Free type. You want to use a key for launching it in case you want to launch it later. So choose the key pair which you just created it. Now you also, for example, if you want to have your database replicated on a different zone. For example, you want an active passive mode wherein if something happens, you want the passive database, the standby database to come into picture. You can also choose a multi-AZ, but this is chargeable, so I'm not going to wrap into it. So VPC, which VPC in which you want to launch it, you can choose it. So in here, I just choose here, or launch it here. How many I want? My web service, I want as one. And I click on next. So this is a screen in which you can again put in any name you want, any tagging name, any specific role using which you want to launch. You can choose a role using which you want to launch. You want to roll back if something happens while creating. You can have a monitoring time and roll back. And advanced features, you can still add in more. Notifications once it is done. For example, I want to be notified once it's done. So I choose a topic. The topic is something like, for example, in LinkedIn or any group, you subscribe to a topic and then you start getting a messages, someone posts to it. Similarly, in AWS, for any service we want to use any notifications, first you need to subscribe to a topic. Once you subscribe to a topic, you'll start getting in the notifications. So for example, here, give it here. And I want to put in my email address. Do this, or I can also choose the existing one. Did this, and choose this topic. Then we talked about in case you want to ensure that nobody accidentally deletes a stack, you want to enable it. Roll back on failure S. Any policy you want to add for stack, you can do it and start doing it and create it. So this is how you launch in using a manual. Now, since we have less time, let me also show you how to launch in. Meanwhile, it got created. So again, let me show you how to launch using your CloudFormation also. Designer, sorry. One is using manual. So now create a stack. Now I want to use my CloudFormation designer, so choose a design template. I'll just show you, I'm not going to show you because it will take more time for mapping and all. So what I do here is, I want to choose whichever service I want, like EC2, I want to add it. So I choose EC2. Sure. This is not working. Yeah, you can use whatever components you want to add, like EC2 or VPC. And you see this code gets automatic updated. So you can modify the host names, whatever sources you're adding it here. and have a template created. So that is how you use a CloudFormation designer. So for example, I also want a VPC. Inside, I want to create and just showing it here. You can go ahead and create the services. This is how I just want to show here. So VPC, if you want to do it, just choose a VPC. And you want to drag it. This mouse is not working. You can add EC2 inside it, and you can modify it. You want to modify it inside, you want to move it, you want to change the parameters name, all this thing you can do it. So this is how, so you can see the policies, it automatically saved in using JSON or YAML. And you can copy this and deploy it. So this is how you do it in case if you're not, you want to use it manual. So I think there is some problem, it's taking roll back because something did not work fine. So let me just check what is the problem. Let me try to create once more. Without choosing a VPC, default one. I think I've not taken the one which I showed you. Let me choose the default ones and create it. Yeah, let's wait. It's going to work now. So now what will happen is once it's created, you would have in the output IP address or the URL using which you can just click on it and you can see the application running. These are the resources which is going to, you can see that it's going to create your resources. The EC2, all this, you'll see it here now. Events, this is what is going to happen. Now you can see what is happening. The template is going to create, this is a template which is going to created now. So this is how a template looks. So as you see, a template of AWS Cloud Formation would have a version number, it would have parameters, it means what are various services which is part of this. So we have VPC, we have subnets, let's talk about the sample one. So it has a VPC default, it's getting created in this VPC, this subnet, key, what key it is getting used, and also the database name, since we've chosen the size, we're also going to show the size, the DB user, all the parameters, whatever you choose would be here, as well as since it's default, it also has some more parameters. To multi-AZ, we have chosen, no, we will not choose it here. So it left blank. Mappings, what are mappings we are using it, how it is, what type, all the details would be part of a template. So these are the parameters which you chosen, the database instance, all these things, you can go ahead and refer it here. If you choose any tags, you can choose stack policy, and you also want to add a stack policy, you can do it. Change sets, we talked about in case you want to test before deploying, you can add a change set and rollback triggers. Let's find it here in case you enable the same. So this is in brief about here, it takes some more time. So if you have time, I can show you, if not, we are done. This is 4 o'clock. I still
that we can cover.
Back. Otherwise, you would find
that we can cover in the
I think I can cover next session.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I have a question here. Just give me a minute. Stack policy is how you want the stacks to be launched. You have some policies which we can use it. So I'll be covering in detail because restriction of time. So we'll have a separate session on AWS Cloud Formation in detail the next time. Is it fine? Any other questions on the basics of AWS? Is because I think you all wanted to know the basics of AWS. Any specific questions?
Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome. So as I talked about, stack policy is wherein you can set in the options for like when you want to roll back, when you want to set in options like termination protection, whatever you want the stack to be deployed, you can have a policy created. That is called a stack policy. Yes. So I'm not able to do it right now, but I think next week when you come in, I'll show you in detail about what is exactly CloudFormation in detail. Thank you, team. Thanks for your time for attending the seminar. Yes.
Thank you, Chaitanya.
So, there's a question on migration. Can you continue or?
Yeah, please.
Sure. So migration. So what type of migration looking for? Are you looking for a server migration or database migration or application migration? So all the three are supported. In case you want to know. So how do you migrate? You have some specific services which will help you for migrate. Those services you will find it under your migration on AWS. So, for example, you want to do a database migration, which is quite widely used. If you want to deploy any database, you are running an Oracle and you want to move on to cloud, you want to use open sources like MySQL or Aurora DB, which is specific to Amazon, you can migrate. But before migration, you want to ensure that the database is going to work properly in AWS. So how you do that? Let me talk about. So this is about database migration service using which you can migrate. For example, if you're running on your Oracle, you want to move on to Aurora or MySQL, you can move on. Also, for example, you're running using Oracle Data Warehouse, you want to use in Amazon, you can migrate. But before migrating, if it is the same type, like a schema to schema, you can directly migrate using a migration service. But for example, you're trying to move from a schema base to non-schema base, you have to use a tool called schema conversion tool. That is called heterogeneous. Heterogeneous is wherein you want to move to a different type of engine. First, you install the schema conversion tool as software on your existing premises. For example, in a VMware environment, you can install it. And you want to put in some dumps, database dumps, what you're running on your on-premises to this. It will let you know whether can you actually convert to whichever target you want. It will do a test. Once it says yes, you can migrate. Then the next step is you use the database migration service for deploying, which will create one replication instance, which is actually going to do the migration. So it will take in the information from the source and also to the target, it will do the work. So because you're doing a replication instance for migration, it is not going to hamper or affect your regular work which is happening. So it will do the work itself, replicant instance. So based on how much of workload you want to migrate, you can decide the size of replication instance and have it migrated. This is how any migration works. And once the migration is done, you can also get in the reports to check whether it's working fine. Yeah, I have a question here. I have faced network issues, so I'm not able to listen properly. Okay, sure. So we'll be sharing the videos.
So any other questions, guys? Yeah. If you have any questions, you can. So Chaitanya, you can share your email address, so they can write all the queries on that email address. You can drop on a chat box. Yeah, please.
Okay. So I'll try my best to revert as soon as possible. So please excuse if I'm. So 1 second, I'm sorry. Let me choose all audience. This is my email address. Any questions are welcome. I'll try to revert back as soon as possible. Thank you all once more for allowing me to take a session today on CloudFormation.
Thank you, Chaitanya, for your time to take your time in the weekends. And thank you all of you.
Thank you.
And we are planning for the next session tomorrow for CISSP, how to prepare for CISSP. and the session will be from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. IST. And we are also planning to do the session on 23rd on CCSP and CISSP ISAP. And on 24th, we are planning to conduct a session on how to prepare for CISA. And on 24th, I believe, we also planning to do the webinar on GDPR with Shanavas, one of our consultant. So please be keep in touch with our page, InfosecTrain.
Okay. Okay. So, Prab, you will be sending the message on the WhatsApp also, or we will go to the InfosecTrain page only?
No. Those who are connected with me on WhatsApp, so you will get the details on WhatsApp, the same way you used to get. So if you want to unlist your name as per GDPR, you can just message me so I can remove your number from that group. If you are okay with that, getting those updates, so just say yes to that message. So by this, we can have all the communication over the WhatsApp. Okay?
Which group you are linked with? Can you?
Wow. Thank you so much.
I don't get you, sorry.
Which group I want to be member?
No issues. Like I will share the number. I will share the number, and by that number you can able to add your. So I can remove your WhatsApp message. Have all the communication. Okay. So, thank you so much again. We keep in touch with InfosecTrain. Thank you, Chaitanya.
Thank you, bro.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Chaitanya.